This is Earnest Mann, giving you insights and opinions you just won't find anywhere else. In my previous episode, I gave you some explanations to the age-old question of why we can't just get along. And because you liked that so much, I've decided to follow up with another life mystery. Why so many things in life often don't work out. And because there is so much involved in this seemingly simple question, we're going to call this part one. They say that one of the benefits of age is wisdom, but I don't believe that's necessarily true, at least as far as the age part of it is concerned. I've known young people who I considered quite wise, and conversely, known people my own age and older that demonstrated all the discernment of a 16-year-old, and not a very bright one. In general, what I have found over the years is that there are two very different types of people. Those two different types of people will have very different reactions to a nearly identical negative life situation. And it's those reactions that often determine if a bad situation is mitigated as much as possible, or if that situation is made even worse, sometimes far worse, than it ever should have or needed to be in the first place. Maybe you've witnessed this yourself in your life, where you actually witnessed someone you knew, a friend or family member, that could have, and definitely should have, walked away from a situation, but instead kept pursuing something they shouldn't have, making a bad situation only worse. So you ask yourself, is this person crazy? Why are they acting like this? Now, there are actually really several reasons why this occurs, but right now, I want to focus on just one of the primary reasons. And it may be something you've never heard of, but there is documented scientific proof not only of its existence, but of its effects, and it's called phasing. And in the broadest and the simplest terms, its causes, its effects, and how it works is like this. Whenever a concentrated population of people goes beyond a certain point, that population, even without their own awareness, simply physically and mentally speeds up. And all things being equal, it's independent of race, gender, political, or religious identification, or just about anything else. This phasing effect is the reason why people notice and generally understand and agree. I'm talking about people who are living in or have always lived in large cities, how much slower life and the people are in the country, small towns or villages they may visit, where the people there seem kind, polite, and perhaps even a bit annoyingly slow. So if you've ever experienced this effect, you know what I'm talking about, and it's definitely not your imagination. And now, I'm going to tell you something you probably also didn't know. I'm going to tell you about the consequences of this involuntary condition known as phasing. Human beings, given the right environmental circumstances, are capable of incredible and astounding things. This is self-evident from the countless technological and artistic achievements throughout recorded history to the present that so many of us simply take for granted today. But it's very important to understand that in practically every instance of those achievements, they came from people who largely led undistracted, perhaps even solitary lives. Albert Einstein, who discovered a small, insignificant thing known as the theory of relativity, and Hedy Lamarr, a talented 1940s actress who spent her free time co-inventing a frequency hopping communication system during World War II which, by the way, she was never paid for as promised by the US government, to name only two. Because you can't figure out deep, complex problems or issues if you're distracted or scatterbrained, ergo, if you're phasing. If you've stuck with me so far, you're about to be even more amazed because here's another part of that reality that I believe will bring what I've been saying so far into even greater focus. Now, given everything I've said so far concerning human potential, it does have limits, and those limits have little to do with innovation or even intelligence. It has much more to do with certain limits of our biological makeup. Now, I know I started this out saying I was going to be giving you an explanation of why so many things in life often don't work out, and I'm going to get to that shortly. But I felt I needed to tell you all of this so you have a much better understanding of how this is all connected. Just about everyone is familiar with the term multitasking, of doing multiple things at once with the goal of being more productive. But the fact is, in real terms, conclusive scientific studies have repeatedly proven that premise to be false. Yes, you can do multiple things seemingly at once, but they will all get done relatively poorly. The fact is that humans can do amazing things. Just about everyone understands that, as again, it's self evident. But the one limitation is that our brains are sequential. We do one thing at a time, even on a microsecond level. It's still one thing at a time. And when something tries to interfere with that, the quality of whatever it is we're trying to do decreases. And it decreases proportionally to the amount of time we are not allowed to actually focus on whatever the hell we're doing. To use an analogy, think of something that must be done that is on a conveyor belt in front of you. If the pace is slow, you can do the production without much trouble. But when the speed of the conveyor for the production is incrementally increased, and production, whether it be the factory or the office, is always increased to maximize profit. Inevitably, the quality of what is being produced will go down. Now, here's the thing. Our minds and bodies function on a set biological clock, and that clock has a certain rhythm. It's innate. And if it's interfered with, especially for a prolonged period of time, eventually the body, the mind, or both will fail. This is not hyperbole. This is scientific fact. Now, you might be thinking that either you or others you know seem perfectly fine, able to perform and do their jobs, whether they be factory workers or office workers, without issue. And that may in fact be true, but only for a time, because that rapidly changes as youthful energy fades, usually around the age of 30 to 35. Now, bear in mind, while I'm telling you this, I'm talking about normal, healthy people without drug or alcohol issues, because for them, the effects are even worse. So, what this ultimately means is that a person has to be able to keep many of life's plates spinning at the same time. So, you may be fantastic at your job, but inevitably, something else fails. And usually, that's the management of your personal life. As they say, something's got to give. So now, drum roll, please. In the words of Jeffrey Lebowski, I'm going to really tie the room together and tell you why so many things in life often don't work out. All of these factors, all of which are only multiplied by phasing. Phasing is one of the primary reasons so many things in your life are not or haven't been working out. A person only has so much physical and mental energy per day. There is a definite reason why so-called energy drinks are so massively popular, and it's not just marketing. People, even young people, are exhausted. And that is simply because our natural biology and rhythm is completely incompatible with our largely forced modern existence. And phasing is a very big part of that causality. And ultimately, why so many people are simultaneously exhausted and a bit crazy. And I believe convincingly explains why so many things in our lives are simply not working out. If you found this episode informative or entertaining, please consider subscribing. And if you just want to reach out to me with whatever's on your mind, you can do so by clicking on my contact link in the description below. Until next time, this is Ernest, and that's all I've got for today.